This can be right. Brilliant. So, Penny, welcome. I am here to ask you lots of questions today about who you are, your role at AMC, and all of the experiences and knowledge, know-how that you bring to the table as a Celebrant mentor. So I am going to dive in straight away.
Go for it. Let's get started.
Let's do it. Right. So tell me a little bit about your background. Who is Penny?
Oh, that's a complex question to start with. So I have been working in events, kind of events, for many years. So when I originally started working, it was mainly in coordinating events and managing events. That then switched ever so slightly due to our life circumstances. It meant we were traveling the world quite a bit. So I had to find something else that sort of fitted in. So there was lots of little odd jobs in between here and there whilst we went from country to country. And eventually, when we returned to the UK, I thought, right, it's time to sort of find Penny again and go back into work. And I saw what I thought would be a nice little easy job, just working at weddings on the weekends for the local registration office. When I applied for the role, during the interview process, they said, "This isn't the right job for you. We've got this other job coming up. Would you be interested?" And I was like, "Yep, sign me up. Where do I begin?" And my life as a registrar began. So before I became a celebrant, I actually did the legal side of weddings and also registering deaths and registering new births. So I came from it from a completely different angle. I hadn't done public speaking before. I didn't know anything about writing a ceremony as such. And all my sort of ceremony training came from a registrar's perspective, which is completely different. It's like a completely different kettle of fish to being a celebrant. But it really gave me a really good understanding of the wedding industry and the funeral industry and that process that families and couples and individuals go through when they're registering these life moments. And out of that, celebrancy was born.
Amazing. So I'm just going to backpedal slightly. So for anyone
Yeah.
that doesn't know you, and I'll be amazed if anyone's watching that and they don't know who you are because you're a little bit of a celeb around here. So Penny, correct me if I'm wrong, you are the AMC course manager. You also manage the team of mentors at AMC. You are a celebrant yourself, and you're
I
a
am.
wedding, funeral, and naming celebrant. Yep. Okay. Perfect. So, just in case anyone didn't know who you were, yeah. So, okay. So you were a registrar, and now you're a celebrant, and like you say, there's night and day between the two. So, what was it that made you take that leap from registrar to celebrant?
Oh, great question. I think for me, I had seen too many people, so that can be individuals or families or couples, trying to squeeze themselves into these really awkward shaped boxes that they really didn't really fit in, but they felt that that's what they had to do. So they were sort of cramming themselves in and going along with the motions. And quite often they were cutting things out or compromising on things to fit into these boxes. And I saw it day in, day out, week after week, year after year, for over a decade. And I just thought there's got to be a better way that we can do this. And like most things that belong to the government, they're not really up for change. And any ideas are kind of poo-pooed quite quickly, like we can't do this and we can't do that. And I just thought, okay, then I'll do it by myself. And for me, that's where I didn't know that I wanted to be a celebrant at that point. I just saw so many people not really celebrating or marking occasions in the right way for them. And I thought there's got to be a better way to do this, but I wasn't sure what that was. And I think when I left registration, even at that point, as I was leaving, I wasn't sure that being a celebrant was going to be the way I was going to travel and the journey that I was going to take myself upon. But I knew I was taking this skill set and this huge vast of knowledge and all these connections in all different kinds of industries with me that I could put to use somewhere down the line. And I think there came a point in my registration career where, for anybody who's ever worked in registration will know, it's what we call dead man's shoes, really. So there's only so many promotions up the ladder there is, and they're quite slow at coming. People tend to be in a job like registration for life. You work your way up the career ladder. There's only so many steps you can take before you're sort of at the final hurdle. And then I'm thinking, well, that person's not going to retire for 30 years. Am I going to wait? Like, am I literally just expected to wait here now until that happens? And I distinctly remember one day sitting in the office, well, cupboard, as I like to call it. It wasn't really an office, it was tiny. You couldn't even get a new mum and a pram in this room. It was tiny, with a big Georgian window that was frosted. So I couldn't even see the world outside, just the light coming in. I remember sitting there thinking, am I going to sit here for that amount of time for the next 2 or 3 decades, waiting for that to happen? Doing a job that I absolutely loved, but felt that it was holding the people I worked with back, not just myself, but all those customers and those clients. And I just thought, do you know what? If you don't do it now, you're never going to do it. And I literally handed my notice in the next Monday with no real plan about what I was going to do. And everybody thought I was crazy. When I told my family and friends, like, something's got to give, they were all like, oh, but you've got a nice pension and you get sick pay and you work a 9 to 5, like it's dead cushy number. And what if is such a big what if. And I just thought, but I've got all this opportunity. And there's got to be a way that I can use this skill set and this understanding and this knowledge in a much better way. And yeah, just literally took the leap.
Wow, that's brave, really brave.
Oh,
But
crazy. I'm not sure which.
but knowing you as I do, it doesn't surprise me. So what are, obviously you've seen both sides of the fence. What are the biggest differences that you can see from your perspective between being a registrar and being a celebrant?
There's, it is night and day. It's so different. You know, if we're talking about weddings, you know, a registrar conducts legal marriage registrations on the back of a restricted ceremony content. A celebrant writes, conducts, officiates, delivers a personal, tailored to the couple wedding. They get to know their clients like nothing. You know, you become friends with these people. You become family celebrants. You know, I've had weddings where I've then been the funeral celebrant for grandma. I've then been the naming celebrant for the new baby as it's arrived. You know, you become embroiled in these families and these clients. And registrars just simply don't have the capacity to do that. They can't get to know every client. And I think the beauty of a celebrant is that they're working on so closely with everybody that they choose to work with or chooses to work with them. So there's nothing wrong with what the registrars do. You know, a registrar ceremony is great and perfect if it's right for that couple. You know, and there's lots of couples out there that it is the right option for them, you know, and they're happy with the restrictions and the rules and the procedures and the legal wording. That's fine. But for a lot of couples, it isn't. And it's quite restrictive. And I think a celebrant offers opportunity, freedom, flexibility. You know, there's no rules on location or timing or content. There's no rules on cultural aspects, religious aspects. You know, we're literally just saying to these people, what do you want? And let's make it happen. You know, and I like to think of celebrants as ceremony superheroes because they can literally be what that couple need them to be and enable that couple or that client or that family to have exactly what is meaningful to them.
Incredible. So how many, I'm going to ask because I know that most celebrants, especially for weddings, if you're a celebrant, you very often will only book one wedding per day. It's rare to hear of a celebrant that, you know, on the odd occasion they might make, an example and do more than one wedding per day, but it's not very often that that happens. How many wedding ceremonies or marriage ceremonies would you typically do or expect to do as a registrar?
Oh, way more than that. Way more than you would as a celebrant. I remember on a busy Saturday in August, you could be doing 8 weddings on a rota, you know, and there'd be not just me out doing 8, but there'd be another 3 or 4 registrars doing 8 as well, you know, and we literally would arrive at the venue. That would be the first time we met the couple as they walked into the interview. We'd never met them before. There'd be very rarely you might have had an interaction with them on the phone or through an email, but you wouldn't necessarily have a clue who the groom was unless you were presented with a groom. And then you would literally do that ceremony and then drive another half an hour to the next venue and you go straight into the next one, same again. Another half an hour, you drive straight into the next one. A given Saturday in the summer, that was just standard practice. Whereas now, as a celebrant, I do only book one ceremony a day. There are occasions, you're right, where there might be two, and it might be that they are literally side by side in two locations that are possible. On the back of COVID, there was a lot of people moving dates and double booking and trying to accommodate as many people as we could. You know, a lot of celebrants were really flexible and did two or three sometimes to keep that sort of backlog moving. And there is also some couples who you just really want to work with. So you might already have one booking, but you can accommodate a second. It's maybe not close by, it's a little bit of a workaround. But that's the beauty of the job. You can take as many or as little as you want and still have work. You know, you don't have to be doing 8 to make a living anymore, you know. And as a registrar, you are paid peanuts. You know, for me, we were paid per ceremony, and you'd be horrified. You wouldn't be able to get a pizza, a main, a starter, and a drink for the money that we used to get paid for doing a wedding. You know, so it's a completely different element altogether. So, you know, just having one couple to focus on is wonderful because I'm not clock watching, I'm not rushing anywhere. It doesn't matter if we start late. It doesn't matter if I need to stay behind a little bit longer to help the photographer get, I don't know, people into confetti lines. Like I'm not thinking I've got somewhere else to be. Whereas a registrar, you are constantly very aware of this couple have got 20 minutes and then we need to go. We have to leave. And I remember occasions where for whatever reason, not always the couple's fault, their ceremony didn't start on time or wasn't expected to start on time. When I had to say, we'll come back. And we literally left the couple and drove to the next wedding, did that wedding and came back. So their wedding started late because there's no room for waiting. There's no room for someone being stuck on the motorway or a zip breaking on a dress and having the time to sew it in. There just isn't that option with the registrar. They've got so much work to get through and so many other couples that you're given a time slot.
Wow, that's crazy. So I know that there isn't such a thing as an average ceremony when it comes to a celebrant ceremony. So this is not going to be an easy question to answer. But could you just walk us through just so that people can understand and where the differences might be, like what an average ceremony might look like for a registrar and what an average ceremony could be for a celebrant?
Yeah, so an average registrar ceremony usually starts off with the pre-ceremony interviews, where the couple are asked their name, their age, their occupation, their date of birth. It's quite a formal, stuffy, slightly nerve-wracking for the couple process. And that's done at the venue, literally in a room next to the room they're about to have their ceremony in. It'll be the first time the registrar and the couple have met each other, quite possibly. It's also the first interaction the registrar has with what's the couple are like, you know, what their theme is, what their colours are, what they're wearing, what their venue looks like. You know, you as a registrar, you're completely blind to that. You've literally just got names on paper. And then from there, they go straight into the ceremony. The ceremony wording is restricted because it's a legal marriage. The content is restricted, you know, and at best, you may be looking at 15, 20 minutes if you push it. The only personalisation on offer is, you know, a reading, a short bio that the couple have to write about themselves that can be read out by a guest or a family friend. There's literally music in, music out, and sitting down and signing. Not even a register anymore. It's a piece of A4 paper with their names on. Even the beautiful old books have gone, and you sign your name. It's a very processed feeling ceremony. You know, you're there to do a role, and they're there to comply and to fit in. And as beautiful as the ceremony is, it is what it is. It's a template. After the ceremony, as the couple leave the room, the registrars will leave shortly after them, and they will literally be packing up the bag and leave at the same time as the couple, and that is it. That is that ceremony done and dusted. Whereas for a celebrant, you know, even if we just focus on the day itself, not everything that's happened before. I have couples I'm working with for 2 years before we get to the venue on the day, you know. So when I get to the venue, it's like I'm already one of the guests. Like I've already met mum. I might have met the groom's brother. I might have met one of the bridesmaids. You're already immersed in this unit of people and this community of people. You'll know the venue. You'll have been before, or as a celebrant, you will have gone and had a really good recce and know where to park and know where the ceremony room is and met with the venue coordinator or the host. We come at it from a completely different angle. And then, for me, I like to go and find my couple, but they might be getting ready, they might be in the bar, they might be being traditional, not seeing each other in two separate places, and we go and have a chat. And that's not a formal interview. That's me going, hey, I'm here. Are you okay? What are we nervous about? Anything you want to run past me? It's just a real relaxed and informal chat. It's not this, what's your name? What's your date of birth? Like, there's no pretense in what's going to happen in that. And if they're fine and they're happy and they're like, no, I'm all good. I'm like, great, fine. I'll see you in the ceremony. And it might be that they say, look, my mum's really nervous about speaking. Can we have a chat with mum? Absolutely. I go find mum. I take her to the ceremony room. We have a little rehearsal if she wants. It's about that connection all the time. And one of the part of the role of the celebrant is facilitating that environment and that atmosphere, and in turn, everybody's experience. And then when we are ready, and I always say this to couples, if the ceremony starts at 1, that's our aim. It doesn't really matter if it's 5 past, 10 to, 25 past. Like, that's our aim. We're aiming for 1 o'clock. Let's get as near to it as we can because it makes all the other suppliers' lives much easier. But if there's a hiccup, there's a hiccup. It doesn't matter if you're a little bit late or we're waiting for somebody who's not there. And that's the beauty of a celebrant, is that the time pressure is immediately released from the couple and the venue somewhat. And a lot of venues say to me, oh, I'm so glad it's you because it looks like we're going to be running 15 minutes late. That, no problem. Let's just serve more drinks then. Let's make the guests happy and comfortable and take the pressure off, and we start 15 minutes later. It's not a problem. And then when we begin the ceremony, I'm not a stranger in that room. I'm not a stranger to them, and they're not strangers to me. And you're so invested in your couples, you just want everything to be perfect for them. And when people say, watching a couple walk down the aisle, it's a magical moment for a celebrant every time, because that's the sort of the pinnacle, the cherry on the cake of all that work underneath, where you've been planning and building and constructing this ceremony. And most importantly, their experience with you. And that ceremony can be 20 minutes if that's what the couple want. It can be an hour if that's what the couple wants. We can throw in some sing-alongs. You can have ring-bearing alpacas. You can tattoo each other. You can sing hymns if you want to. We can say a prayer. You can light candles. Like, whatever they want to do is absolutely fine. And that's the beauty of the timing, because it doesn't matter. We're not thinking, I've got to be out of here in 20 minutes. I've got to say everything I need to say and still be on time. And then you go through this wonderful experience with couples where you're just sharing this journey with them and you're part of their story. If this was a chapter in their book, you would be in that chapter and you would be one of their characters that would be mentioned. And it's a lovely privilege to be part of that. And after the ceremony, as the couple walk back down the aisle, I'm not rushing to the next one. I'm thinking, I'm chatting to the musicians. Quite often people will come and talk to you after the ceremony about their experience. And it's usually, I've never had that before. That was amazing. Or, oh my God, how long have you known the bride for? It's like, I don't know the bride. I'm here as a supplier. And then you go, you can go out, and quite often you're invited to stay for welcome drinks or, for the confetti throwing. And you really feel that the couple want you to be part of their experience, and you become more than just somebody they've paid to book. And that's the difference. All those points, although there are 2 ceremonies and they could be exactly the same amount of time in exactly the same venue, the experience for the person officiating, for the couple, and everybody else is so different. And that applies whether it's a naming ceremony, whether it's a funeral ceremony, those principles apply.
Yeah, it's really night and day. So I'm gonna ask you, what are your favorite types of ceremonies conduct and why?
My favorite types, well, it depends because it comes and goes. It's like fashion. I love these jeans and now I hate these jeans. Um, so favorite ceremonies can really vary from going to venues that I really love to work at, where I really feel like the ceremony space works for couples. It can be that I'm going to a funeral and I know that that family have chosen exactly what's important to them and they're doing it anyway. Despite the restrictions, despite the ridiculous time slot of the crematorium, they're still doing it. Those are really special to me because those are families who are making a really distinctive choice to do what's right for them, regardless of what the world expects them to do. I love small, intimate ceremonies where the guest numbers are quite small. It's like everyone's got a golden ticket to something really special and they're really immersed in it. But then I also love when there's hundreds of people and it's like this crazy wild festival vibe and everybody's, having the best time and the ceremony is just part of that experience. So it's really hard to sort of say what my favorites are. I think for me, it's the ones where I genuinely feel connection with the couple and I know that they are getting exactly what they wanted and they're not compromising. I think those are my favorites when I know that they're really living their best life and their dream wedding, funeral, naming, whatever ceremony it is, out to its max.
Amazing. So at the AMC, we talk a lot about modern celebrancy, because celebrancy has changed a lot over the years. And obviously you have been in the wedding industry, in the funeral industry for a really long time. What changes have you seen as a celebrant over those years?
Wow, a lot. In what feels like a short space of time. I remember when I started as a celebrant, nobody knew what one was. You had to tell everybody what that was, and you felt like it was an uphill struggle a lot of the time. There wasn't a community of celebrants out there. There weren't places like the AMC where you could have open and frank conversations, where you could get support, where you could talk to other celebrants. You were literally out there in the wilderness on your own, it felt like. And I think for a lot of us who have been a celebrant for a long time, we've really seen how the community has grown and that companionship has grown and that support has grown and how the more celebrants there are, the more the industry is strengthened, the more the bar is raised. Whereas before you just get these random pockets of celebrants basically doing whatever they wanted at whatever standard they wanted at whatever fee they wanted. As that community has grown and that celebrant industry has grown, that has changed massively and only for the better. And I have now celebrants who are my go-tos. I share a lot of work. I pass work along. I'm booked. I can't make it. It's too far for me. Can you do this? And it comes back. It's a vice versa sort of arrangement. And that's amazing. And I never say no to a couple. I might not be available, but I know a raft of other celebrants who are perfect fit for you or will be available or are in your area or do that particular niche thing that you're looking for. So that community, I think, is the biggest change that I've seen. And also the public's understanding of the value of a celebrant. When I started, it was having to sort of tell people what you did and then them processing it and understanding it. And then they were radical if they were making you as a choice. Whereas now, I stand at wedding fairs now and people come to me and go, we've been dying to talk to a celebrant like you. They're educated. They already know what a celebrant can bring and what that value is. So you feel like although there's a lot of work still to be done, as always, there's a lot of work still to be done. I think people are aware of celebrants and are more inclined to explore a celebrant avenue rather than just thinking, oh, I need a minister, oh, I need a registrar. We can't have that at the crematorium. We can't use that venue, and that's been a massive change and so much for the better, because couples are coming with what is right for them already. They've already made that decision. This is the avenue we want to go down. Now we just need to find the right person.
Amazing. So, for anyone who doesn't know you, and I've known you for a while now, one thing that really sticks in my mind, and I'm also going to borrow some words, descriptions from other people as well, is your absolute ability to smile and be positive and motivating, even when you're up against it. One story that comes to mind was it was actually the story that you shared last year, and you were filming yourself in your car, completely bedraggled, because you were absolutely determined to fulfill your couple's dreams of having an outdoor wedding, even though the sun did not shine, the rain stayed all day, and they still wanted to go outside and dance in the rain and celebrate in the rain. And you made that happen with a smile on your face. You have been referred to as a queen of celebration, the font of all knowledge. I would say you are a master plate spinner. Like I said, you are a wedding, naming, and funeral celebrant mentor. You manage a team of celebrant mentors, AMC. You're the course manager for AMC. You are a student and celebrant advocate, and you manage your own business at the same time. So, for anybody who's out there wondering how they're going to fit celebrancy into their life, what advice do you have for them?
I think what happens is you start to spin these plates, and then before you know it, you've got a whole tea service on the go. Like these things sort of grow and they mature in ways that are slightly out of your control. But being organized is really important. And managing your time is really important and setting those boundaries in place. If because the clients don't want to meet you 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. They want to meet you in the evenings and at weekends. And you have bereaved families that can only make Sunday mornings. So I have a really understanding family and husband who, appreciates that I might not be here on Saturday evening to watch whatever's on the telly because I've got to go see a family. So having that support is really important. Being organized, so having the systems and the tools in place so that you can focus on what's important, you can meet deadlines, especially when you're working with outside agencies, funeral directors, wedding venues, wedding planners who need times and things like that from you quite early in the process. And what's for me, I think the thing that keeps it all in the air is the love for the job. And I think when you genuinely love what you do and you feel like it makes a difference, it makes keeping those plates in the air a little bit easier. But I definitely could not do it without having some really fixed boundaries and some really fixed tools and work processes. So whether they are online things, whether they are back office files, whether it's the hours that I work or the days that I give myself, it's having what's right for you and what works for you. And, I'm useless at some stuff, like absolutely hopeless at stuff. And in the early days, I would have just slogged at whatever it was. I don't know, creating an Instagram post. I would have just slogged at it for 3 hours until I got it right. Whereas now I'm not afraid to say, do you know what? I can't do this. It's worth my time to invest in somebody else to do this for me because then I can spend time with my couple or I can spend time writing that funeral. So it's learning along the way your journey and how it nurtures into what you're good at, what your strengths are, and what you need support with. I'm very fortunate. I have older children who are absolutely whiz when it comes to modern technology. So I'm quite often like, they'll say to me, don't save that like that, Mum. You can save this here and it'll duplicate and it'll, and it's like, oh my God, this is life-changing. You've just saved me 3 hours a week. So don't be afraid to get help and know what your own strengths are. But I think you have to really want it and want it to work for you. And I'm better at being busy. I know that's a character trait of mine. So I'm more likely to get things done when my to-do list is ridiculous. If I've not got a lot on the to-do list, I go and find things to put on there so I can just cross them off because I feel like I'm achieving something. I'm one of those people. And I'm quite old school. Like I write lists a lot. I still write a lot of lists, and I literally think these are the things that are important and need doing first. These are the things that I'm not very good at that I maybe need to outsource. And having those plans and strategizing, every year I think to myself, what do I want to achieve this year? How many more bookings do I need this year? How many less bookings do I need some years? I don't need to do what I did last year. It was ridiculous. Let's take 5 less this year and have a Saturday off. Although that's another thing. When you haven't got a ceremony on a Saturday, you spend the whole day thinking, am I meant to be somewhere? This doesn't feel right. Have I missed something? But for me, I think having structure and process is really important.
And for anyone that is training to be a celebrant, is there any other advice that you would give them to get the most out of their training?
I would say always research who you're training with and make sure it aligns with your style of learning. And, I see a lot of students say, oh, I'm thinking of learning with this person, or I'm thinking of learning with this person. And that's other people's opinions, and everybody learns slightly differently. So find yourself a training organization where you feel supported, where you've got human connection, and where you know that the people that are training you are actually out there, boots on the ground, doing the job, because they're going to be the ones that can really support you the best. And I'm an advocate in us sharing with our students at AMC, the good, the bad, and the ugly. This is the reality of working at 9 o'clock on a Friday night. You get home and it's freezing, it's dark, and there's nobody in. Standing in the rain for an hour and a half, getting absolutely soaked. These sort of things. I think it's really important that you can really see what it's like in reality, the job that you're training to do. I think when you're training, always take on board the feedback. It's never a criticism. It's there to guide you. It's there to maybe say to you, look, did you realize that this is maybe not your strong point, but we can help you find people that can help you with this, or this is a massive skill set that you are not using. The amount of students I say to them, they say, oh, I'm really nervous about public speaking. And I say, but you're a teacher. You public speak to 30, 40 children a day. Use that mindset and that skill and adapt it to talk to 40 people at a funeral. It's the same process and it's the same skill set that just needs adapting. And a lot of people will say when they begin, I don't know anything about computers, I don't know how to run accounts, and none of us do. None of us did. We're here to say to you, this is how I learned. This is the places I got support. These are the things that I use to help you. So I think when you're in a training environment, your mentors and your guides and your community are there to support you, and we only want to see you succeed. I've never had a mentor, worked with a mentor, or experienced being a mentor where I've had a student that I've thought, I don't want them to succeed. That's never entered our heads. Like, we are here thinking, these are your skill sets, these are your assets, these are what we can help you with, and these are what you need work on. So always take on board all of it, immerse yourself in it as much as you can. Connect with as many different mentors and as many different celebrants and as many different peers as you can that are on the courses with you, because you will learn from all of them. And that will only enable you to be more successful when you go out there in the real world. And I think when you work with a training organization like AMC, we don't just close the door once you've graduated and go, off you go, see you later. That door remains wide open. So we can continue to support you, and you can come back and celebrate wins and share that with us. So I always say to people when they're training, be sure that those doors remain open for you when you actually go out there after receiving that certificate. And from the point of becoming a celebrant, my best advice, just be you. Literally, as the saying goes, everybody else is taken, because only you can be you, and that is your superpower. What you are going to offer these families, clients, couples, individuals, it will never be what somebody else can offer them, because nobody else is you. And I think everyone tries to imitate a successful celebrant. Oh, they're really good, I'll do what they're doing. They've got this post on Instagram, I'll go post that too. It's like, you're just imitating somebody else, and sustainability, you can't do that long term, because eventually you'll revert back to who you are. So just be you and embrace who you are. And that can be quirky, crazy alternative. It can be literally straight and narrow. You don't have to have this crazy wild niche to use. You can just be an ordinary, everyday Joe Blogs on the street celebrant, because there will be a client base that's looking for that as well. So always, always just be true to yourself and who you are.
I love that. I think it's such an important message for people to hear. It certainly resonates with me, and I'm through the work that I do, I'm, very often sharing the same message with people. Now, obviously, our students at AMC come from all sorts of backgrounds, with all different skill sets and experiences and personalities. Is there one trait or skill that you think is an absolute must for any celebrant?
I don't want to be here. Literally, you've got to want to be here. You've got to, when you talk about being a celebrant or becoming a celebrant, it's got to light a fire in your belly. Otherwise, you're not going to go out there and you're not going to achieve great things. So I think a lot of our students who come to us, like you say, from so many different walks of life and so many different careers and so many different cultures and backgrounds, they're all coming into a celebrant pot from all these different angles, literally pouring in. And all that does is fill this cup with so much joy and inspiration and knowledge that everybody in the cup can then share. So I think the having that drive to want to become a celebrant is the first step, you know, and I think everything then falls into place because of that fire in your belly and because of that drive. Um, you know, there isn't a character that makes a perfect celebrant. You might be super shy and really quiet. That doesn't make you a bad celebrant. You might be really out there and very loud and wear crazy stuff. That doesn't make you a good celebrant either. There is no one size fits all option. And I think no matter where you've come from in life or what your experiences are or your skill set is, there will be something in there that you can utilize to become successful in celebrancy. So yeah, just have the drive and the want to be here, and the rest will always fall into place.
Amazing. Such an inspiration. Penny, thank you so, so much for your time. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us?
I would just say to people, this really is the best job in the world. And I know people will say that about any job that they're passionate about, but there is nothing like the experience that you get at the end of working with any clients. And whether that be as the confetti's being thrown at the wedding, or whether it's as you see the family leave the crematorium, or whether it's as you see a family go off and celebrate a new arrival or welcoming a new person into their family, there is what I call a ceremony high and a reward that comes from the work we do. And some of that is because you've really given something back. And some of that's a job well done. And that high is like nothing else on earth. I mean, I'm an avid chocolate lover, but even it gets nowhere near the best chocolate in the world, gets nowhere near that experience. And once you've felt it once, you want it again and you want to be able to experience it again. So that is an amazing thing. And I wish you could bottle that up and give it to people so they could experience what that felt like to be a celebrant at the end of that journey with a client. And I can't wait for everybody who's watching this and is out there training or is waiting for that first booking to experience that ceremony high.
Oh, absolutely. And we'll be there in our Facebook groups ready to
Cheering them on.
celebrate with them when they share that with us. So thank you so, so much.